You know those moments when life feels like it's dragging you by the ankle across the floor and you're just trying not to lose a shoe? Yes, that feeling. And yet, right in the middle of that chaos, something inside you whispers, it's over. Not because you solved it, not because the situation bowed respectfully and excused itself, but because God quietly declared, long before you saw any sign of relief, that the season you thought would swallow you whole has already expired. And you're here wondering, if it's over, then why does it still feel like my life is on fire? I get it. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not manifesting wrong. You're simply human. And humans have this hilarious habit. We wait to feel done before we start living done. But God doesn't operate on feelings. He operates on truth. And the truth is simple. What you prayed for is already yours. Not coming, not loading, not stuck in some celestial buffering screen. Yours. But humans, oh, we love evidence. We love receipts. We want the congratulations. Your blessing has been shipped notification. We want the angels to show up with a clipboard and say, sign here. And because we don't see that, we assume nothing happened. As if God needs our eyeballs to validate his timeline. You've been praying, crying, pacing, fasting, bargaining, like you're negotiating rent with heaven, and God is just calmly saying, why are you still begging for something I already handed you? Imagine someone giving you a gift, placing it right in your hands, and you keep asking, please give it to me. They'd stare at you like, are you okay? That's exactly what many of us do. We ask for peace while we hold peace hostage by expecting chaos. We ask for love but sabotage it because we're bracing for heartbreak. We ask for opportunities but stay seated securely in our comfort zone like someone superglued to their chair. We pray for change but act like nothing has changed. And that's the core of the challenge. You haven't shifted your identity to match your prayer. You're praying like a champion but living like the battle is still ongoing. You're asking for a new chapter but reading the same old sentences. You're trying to move into a future where you've already won, while walking with the posture of someone who's still losing. This matters because identity always overrides intention. It doesn't matter how loudly you pray if, deep down, you still see yourself as the version of you who struggles, waits, worries, and doubts. A changed life starts with a changed identity, not a changed circumstance. Here's a simple way to understand it. Think of your mind like a GPS. You enter a destination, your prayer. You say, God, I want healing, abundance, love, clarity, favor, breakthrough. But if your internal location, your identity, is still stuck in unworthy, afraid, not enough, or still waiting, the GPS can't route you correctly. You end up circling the same emotional block, driving the same mental roundabout, repeating the same spiritual traffic jam. What's wild is this. God has already set the destination. He's not changing the coordinates, but you keep hitting recalculate because you won't move. Or worse, you move, but in the wrong direction, because you don't believe the destination is yours. You pray like a believer and live like a doubter. That gap between your prayer and your behavior, that's where most breakthroughs go to die. So let's dig deeper. Why is it so hard to live as what you prayed for? Why do we cling to old versions of ourselves? The answer is shockingly simple: certainty. Even if your old season was painful, at least it was predictable. You could count on the disappointment. You could count on the anxiety. You could count on life giving you the same flavor of stress every morning, like an unwelcome breakfast special. The new season God gave you, that requires surrender, confidence, gratitude before evidence, a willingness to step into situations you can't control, a readiness to receive blessings you only imagined before. And that can feel terrifying. Humans cling to the familiar, even when the familiar is misery. But God is saying, let go. It's over. Move. And if you want a simple framework to understand this, here's one that even the most logical mind can follow. 1. Your prayer sets the intention. 2. God completes the work. 3. Your identity completes the alignment. Most people stop at step 1. They pray the prayer and then stare at their life like it's a pot of water on the stove, waiting for it to boil while complaining it's still cold. But intention without identity creates spiritual confusion. You literally confuse the universe with mixed signals. You're saying, "I'm healed," but acting like someone's still broken. You're praying, "I'm ready for love," but keeping your heart wrapped in 3 layers of emotional bubble wrap. You're declaring abundance while budgeting your joy like it's about to run out. Living as what you prayed for means your thoughts, actions, expectations, speech, energy, and choices start aligning with the outcome, not the process, not the waiting stage, but the outcome. Let me give you something practical, because talking about breakthrough without giving you a roadmap is just motivational noise. Strategy 1. Act the outcome, not the anxiety. If God says the chapter is over, stop rehearsing your lines from the old one. Start making decisions as someone who has already received what you asked for. If you prayed for peace, stop entertaining chaos. If you prayed for love, stop rejecting every good thing with suspicion. If you prayed for opportunity, start showing up like someone who's about to be seen. Strategy 2. Upgrade your internal dialogue. Your words are like divine contracts. When you keep saying, "I'm trying, I'm waiting, I hope so," you're speaking as someone unsure. Replace uncertainty with ownership. Say, "It is done." Not "I hope," not "I wish." Done. Finished. Signed in heaven and delivered on earth in its appointed time. Strategy 3. Stop stalking the blessing. Some of you treat your prayers like packages, refreshing the tracking number. God, is it close? God, is it coming? God, are you sure you heard me? Faith doesn't track. Faith positions. When you believe something is yours, you prepare for it. You create space. You shift the environment. You don't anxiously hover. You expect. Strategy 4. Drop the emotional leftovers. Lingering fear, old heartbreak, shame, guilt, disappointment. They weigh you down like expired items hiding in the back of your fridge. You prayed for a new season, but you're bringing moldy emotions into a fresh chapter. Clear them out. Bless the past and release it. Closure is not God's job, it's yours. Strategy 5. Be consistent with your new identity. Consistency is the glue of transformation. If you only believe in your breakthrough when you're in a good mood, you're not living as what you prayed for. Believe when you're tired. Believe when nothing changes. Believe when everything seems louder than the voice of faith. Breakthrough is a lifestyle, not a moment. And let me validate something important. None of this is easy. You might be fighting old patterns, heavy memories, deeply ingrained fears. You're not failing because it's hard. You're human because it's hard. But hard doesn't mean impossible. It just means you're transitioning into someone new. And like any transformation, there's friction. You've spent years, maybe decades, living inside an identity shaped by struggle. So stepping into an identity shaped by victory is going to feel uncomfortable at first, almost awkward. Like wearing new shoes. They look great, but your feet are like, "What is this?" That awkwardness is normal. It's proof you're shifting. What matters is this. God already finished the part you keep worrying about. You're not waiting on the blessing. The blessing is waiting on you to catch up to who you truly are now. You're not convincing God to move. God is convincing you to move. The door is open. The season is done. The storm expired. The test turned into testimony. But you have to choose to walk like someone who believes it. So here's your challenge today. Not next week. Not next month. Pick one thing you prayed for and live today as if it is already yours. One thing. If you prayed for peace, respond to chaos differently today. If you prayed for love, soften your heart today. If you prayed for opportunity, prepare today. If you prayed for healing, act like someone who expects restoration today. Take one step, close one door, release one fear, speak one affirmation, make one decision that aligns with the life you prayed for. God says it is over. So live like someone who heard him. Now let's go deeper, because you and I both know that hearing God says it's over is inspiring for about 5 minutes until life bumps you again and you start asking, over where? Over how? Over when? Because it doesn't look over from here. And that's exactly where many people get stuck. You want a spiritual victory with physical evidence. But faith rarely works like that. Faith is the bridge between what God has already completed and what you haven't seen yet. Think of it like this. The blessing exists. It's already real. But faith is the currency that pulls it into your experience. And the fastest way to activate that faith is to behave like someone who's already received it. The challenge is that your emotions don't always get the memo on time. Your mind is still replaying old patterns. Your fears are still giving you commentary like disgruntled sports analysts. And your doubts, oh, they're loud. They're always loud. They scream. But what if nothing changes? What if you're wrong? What if this hope is just another disappointment waiting to happen? Let me be brutally honest. Living as what you prayed for will feel delusional at first. You will feel like you're lying to yourself. But what you're actually doing is retraining your mind to stop glorifying the past. You're shifting out of survival mode and into creation mode. Survival mode says, protect yourself. Creation mode says, express yourself. Survival mode says, expect the worst. Creation mode says, expect the best. So let's expand the framework a bit. Think of your transformation as a three-part flow: decision, embodiment, and evidence. Decision is the moment you say, I refuse to live in the old season. Embodiment is when your actions start matching that decision. Evidence is when the outer world finally adjusts to the inner world you've built. Most people decide, but they never embody. They look for evidence first, but evidence is always the last step. Always. That's why the people who receive the biggest breakthroughs often knew long before anything changed. They carried themselves differently. They woke up differently. They expected differently. That's embodiment. And embodiment is magnetic. It draws the blessing to you because you've become aligned with it. So let's break this down with practical tools. Because if you don't know what embodiment looks like, you'll think it's just saying affirmations in the mirror with a shaky voice while brushing your teeth. No. Embodiment is deeper. It's behavioral faith. Practical step 1. Set a standard that matches your prayer. If you prayed for peace, then chaotic environments, dramatic relationships, and self-inflicted stress cannot stay. Not because you're too holy for them, but because they don't match the frequency of what you asked for. Your life elevates when your standards elevate. You can't pray for strength and keep entertaining what weakens you. You can't ask for clarity and keep feeding confusion. Make a list today, yes, literally, of what can't follow you into the season God already declared over. Then stick to it. Practical step 2. Practice. Thank you first. This is one of the most powerful spiritual tools you have. Thanking before receiving is a declaration of certainty. It tells God, I trust you more than I trust my circumstances. Every morning, thank God for at least one thing you haven't seen yet. Not as a trick, not as a manifestation hack, but as an alignment exercise. Gratitude shifts your emotional temperature. It softens resistance. It grounds you in expectancy. And when you live in expectancy, blessings feel natural instead of surprising. Practical step 3. Close the loop on old emotional patterns. Some of you have been dragging emotions for years. Fear, anger, comparison, grief, insecurity. These emotions became your roommates. You sip coffee with them. You go to bed with them. You bring them into new seasons like souvenirs. But God is calling you into emotional maturity. That means processing, not suppressing. It means acknowledging the pain without worshipping it. It means giving yourself permission to heal without needing a disaster to justify it. Sit with your emotions when needed, but don't let them become landlords in a home God's trying to renovate. Practical step 4. Speak the new identity. Your words shape your atmosphere. They create your expectations. They reinforce your identity. If you want to live as what you prayed for, your language has to mature. Stop speaking from wounds when God is calling you to speak from victory. Replace I hope with I know. Replace maybe with certainly. Replace if with when. Your words are not decoration. They are declarations. And declarations shift destiny. Practical step 5. Celebrate small shifts. Breakthrough doesn't always show up with fireworks. Sometimes it's quiet. subtle, gentle, a thought that feels lighter, a fear that loosens its grip, a desire to try again. These are seeds. Celebrate them. The more you celebrate, the easier it becomes to embody the new season. Celebration is faith in motion. It shows God that you recognize His hand, even in small movements. Now let's get real for a second. Some people will not understand the new way you move when you start living as what you prayed for. They'll say you're acting different. Good. That's the point. They'll say you're too confident. Even better. They'll say you're too calm, too certain, too peaceful. Excellent. You're finally aligned. You're no longer fighting battles God already finished. You're no longer replaying traumas heaven already erased. You're no longer begging for what was already delivered. And as you shift, don't expect applause. People who benefited from your old identity will struggle with your new one. That's not your problem. When God says a season is over, He doesn't ask for public approval. He simply prepares you privately. So if some relationships fade, let them. If some doors close, bless them. If some routines feel uncomfortable, adjust them. A new season demands a new rhythm. Now let's talk about something that often gets ignored. Receiving. Honestly, many people pray well but receive poorly. They pray boldly but shrink when the answer shows up. They ask for love but push away affection. They pray for opportunities but panic when the spotlight hits. They ask for abundance but self-sabotage the moment success approaches. Receiving requires self-worth. When you don't believe you deserve what you prayed for, you'll unconsciously reject it. You'll think, this is too good to be true. Or, what if it doesn't last? Or, who am I to have this? But God didn't bless you based on who you used to be. He blessed you based on who He created you to be. Living as what you prayed for is an act of holy confidence, not arrogance. Confidence. Confidence that says, if God gave it, I can carry it. Confidence that says, if God ended that season, I won't resurrect it. Confidence that says, if God declared it mine, I won't apologize for receiving it. So, here's what I want you to do today. Yes, today. Pick one area of your life where you have been living as the version of you who is still waiting, still worrying, still unsure, and shift your behavior. Just one area. Show your faith through action. Make the call. Send the email. Start the project. Forgive the person. Clean the space. Rest. Move. Speak. Do something that says, I believe God. That small action will trigger a chain reaction. Life responds to movement. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about the call to action. I want you to take a moment right after this video and do two things. First, choose one sentence that reflects your new identity. Something that aligns with what you prayed for. Say it out loud. Write it down. Carry it today like a spiritual key. Second, drop a comment. Tell me the one thing you're stepping into, the one thing you're embodying starting today. Don't be shy. There's power in declaring it. There's power in being witnessed. And there's power in community. Someone might read your comment and find the courage to shift their own life. And as we reach the end of this message, I want you to breathe deeply, not just to calm yourself, but to acknowledge something powerful. You are in a new season. Not because it looks new, but because God said it is. The old cycle is over. The old identity is expired. The old fear has lost its authority. You are not who you were when the storm started. You are who you became while walking through it. Your life is not waiting to change. Your life is waiting for you to change into the person who can carry that change. Every prayer you whispered, every tear you cried, every moment you doubted but still hoped none of it was wasted. It sculpted you, strengthened you, positioned you. Now it's time to live, not as who you were, but as who you prayed to become. And if this message stirred something in you, if it reminded you, awakened you, aligned you, then make sure you subscribe, like, and share this with someone who's still stuck in the season God already ended. Spread the shift, spread the clarity, spread the faith. Your new life is not coming someday. It's beginning now. Live as what you prayed for. God already said it is over. And once God says it's over, nothing, not fear, not doubt, not circumstance, has the right to continue. Step forward, step boldly, and step like someone who knows heaven already moved on your behalf. Your time is here.